Welcome to the Omnibus Show, a program for people who are interested in everything, with deep conversations on a wide variety of subjects. And now your host, Dave Gibbs.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Omnibus Show, the program for people who are interested in everything, with deep conversations on a wide variety of subjects. This week's guest is Jenni Browning, who is the CEO of the American Dairy Association of Indiana. She is an experienced marketing and communication professional with a detailed history of working in the dairy community. She's also a registered dietitian nutritionist with a strong media and communication background. And it is good to have you here this week. Thank you and welcome.
Well, thank you. I look forward to the conversation.
Yes. So milk.
Yes.
Yeah, well, milk. Well, tell us about your milestones and what led you to be the CEO of the milk of our state.
I know. So a lot of people, how did you get into dairy? Did you grow up on a dairy farm? I did not. I hadn't even been on a dairy farm until I was hired. My background is in exercise physiology, and also I'm a dietitian. So I got those degrees from Ball State. Just always been really interested in health. I was into sports and athlete in high school. And so with that, I actually knew about the Dairy Association because they work a lot with dietitians and nutrition. So I had actually interned there for 3 weeks. However, my journey through, I had 3 jobs beforehand. I worked at the Community North Hospital here in Indy.
Yes.
I also then went to the YMCA and did corporate wellness. And then also for a physical therapy and wellness company and did business development for there. I got a call from a professor, actually, from Ball State and said, I think I just saw a job it's your job. You got to go get it. And it was the Director of Communications at the American Dairy Association Indiana. So I went and applied, and I got the job. So, which they needed somebody that could talk and somebody also who was a dietitian. So I fit the mold.
Well, that's great. So, and Indiana's Midwest, we've got a big agricultural state, and there are many farms. Can you tell us about the farming, milk farms and such in our state and that process?
Sure. So in the state of Indiana, there is just under 700 dairy farms. You probably have driven by a dairy farm. You just might not know. And not everyone knows what a dairy cow looks like. But so it ranges from size all the way from maybe 10 cows all the way to maybe a couple thousand cows here in the state. And the average here for the state of Indiana is just over 200 cows on a farm. But dairy farmers, the one thing, so the Dairy Association, we work for Indiana dairy farmers. And we really are here to do just what I'm doing, is chatting with people about and connecting them to dairy farming and dairy and just answering those questions, because less than 2% of the population is connected to agriculture.
Yes. And so, and milk is a big thing. Now, you're the state agency association. You're tied, you have a federal tie?
Well, it's really it's a checkoff organization. So what that is basically for every 100 pounds of milk a dairy farmer here in the state produces, we get 10 cents of that. And that's how we're funded, by dairy farmers.
Okay.
So the idea is to take the money, the farmers, this was created by the farmers back in 1984, and then that's a way to help promote generally just the nutrition of dairy, and then also recently, so even when I was hired 15 years ago, people want to know about nutrition, so we did that. But now we're taking people with really on the farm and educating about dairy farming, because that's how people are making their choices. They want to know about the source and where it's derived from.
Sure. And people are getting more and more interested in that. Being a dietitian, when you were in your studies and as a professional dietitian, did you have a big tie-in with, milk would be one of the food groups that you'd work, and it's more than just milk. Dairy is expanded to other dairy products, but how do you, we'll leave it to you because it's beyond my province, is on dietitian?
Sure. So the dietary guidelines, or you think about what they used to have, the food pyramid, and now it's a plate. But dairy is one of the food groups. So, and because of that, the food groups are made of the different nutritional components, and so that we make sure that children are growing very healthy and have everything for development. And then later in life, as we age, that we make sure that our bones are still working and our minds are still working. So all these different food groups, they make sure, and that's why the nutrition recommendations come from that. How many servings should we have? So part of that is like dairy was one of those. So it's very important to have, so especially for children and the vitamins. So think of that. A child can, again, whether from a cow or even if a woman is breastfeeding, so that is the core of what a child will get. And they want to make sure because of all that nutrition. But then now you think about all the different innovative progression of things, of food. So in 1950s, how many beverages were there?
There'd be milk and water and iced tea, and there was soda around back then.
Juice, and
juice, like
so you're
orange
limited.
Juice and cranberry and a few of those.
So think now, you go to the store and you're overwhelmed. You don't even... But the packaging is so vibrant, so that's how people make their choices. So people might drink less milk now, but think of all the innovative products. So yogurt, you have different, even yogurt just for probiotics, for digestive health. The cheeses.
Kefir.
Yeah, kefir, yeah. So then whey protein. So there's just milk is not just milk anymore. So it's more about the components and how innovative dairy has been over the years.
Jenni, do you go to the different farms? The 700, right? Do you have a meetup, or do you go and visit them? Because you probably have small farms, just in our state. You have small farms, and you probably have, what would you call them, industrial farms? Big super farms.
Well, 95% of dairy farms in the U.S. are family owned, so that's one thing. And here I would say I've been to Amish farms up north, and then all the way to a lot of people on 65 drive by Fair Oaks farms. Again, family owned. So and everybody has something a little different.
Sure. And
then not growing up on a dairy farm, I've learned a lot about cows that I've never thought I would say some of those things. But the technology. So now, whether it's a small farm or even a large, there's robotic milkers. In the state of Indiana, there's 37 robotic milking farms. So that is where a cow can get up and go, and if she feels like being milked, she goes through and she's milked, and then she kind of moseys on back and eats something and lays down. So that could be used for a family who's very small and they just want to go watch their high school boy play basketball and not worry about who's on the farm. Or maybe it's even for a large farm who it's just efficiency. So it's just neat to learn about each operation.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I love farms. I'm not a farmer. I mean, we were farmers on both sides, generations past. Dad's side was more of grass and back in the old country would have been, regular products that, grown. And Mom's side actually were tobacco farmers down in Kentucky on the Ohio River. And so that's it's always fascinating because they grew up with farms, visiting farms, not being on a farm. Well, that's it for Chapter 1. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Chapter 2 here on the Omnibus Show. Hi, and welcome back to the second chapter of the Omnibus Show. This week's guest is Jenni Browning. She is the CEO of the American Dairy Association of Indiana. Now, I got to ask, my first question for this chapter is, got milk?
That's right. Now, you're not the first person to ask, but we do.
Yeah, you got milk. So that's probably the most famous campaign I know about the Milk Association. How can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure.
How that, because it's been a while since that
It's been
came
a lot,
out.
but I feel like it's still out there. So like any kind of good that same
It's a
same
cultural
group.
thing.
It is very much. So that was really in California, working with an agency similar like to promotion, like what we are. So it was a way of getting milk out there, making it relevant, and helping do that. So we've kind of steered away from some of that now, and some of that money in marketing has been put into different innovation of brands and really promoting that. But you think of how we get information now, it's a little bit different, but by far that is the most memorable thing I feel like of marketing of dairy for sure.
Now, that's fascinating to know because that really was successful.
It was, yeah.
And it was very cute because all these celebrities and athletes would have a little mustache on their on their lip. But going on to the cows, there are different kinds of milk cows. Does our state have, and that can go into nationally too, is there a particular milk cow that is the sort of the number one, or there's varieties?
There are,
correct?
and I probably for $1 million could try to name all like the different types, but I would say safely Holstein here, and the state are the most popular. So that's your typical where you think of like kind of like my sweater here, the black and white like kind of cow print. That is a Holstein cow. So if you see that, and that's just typical to where probably for the weather. Now you go somewhere different like Australia, and the cows are different for what fits the environment the best.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Well, I think the question we all want to know is, where are the chocolate cows?
Chocolate cows. Well, we were kind of chit-chatting and talking about there are people who think that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. So that's just part of the reason for our organization, too, because there's so much misinformation or just confusion. Because farmers are doing an excellent job, and we don't have to farm. I just go to the grocery store.
Sure.
I don't have to do anything, and so the food is provided. And again, less than 2% of the population is connected to agriculture. But years past, generations, you had even talked about kind of being part, or a family being part of farms, and that was how we've grown up. Well, now I don't have any grandparents that were farmers, and so that's where we get detached and we have a lot of questions. A lot of people have never been on a dairy farm.
Yeah. No, that's true. A lot of people haven't, even here living in Indiana. Decades ago, my dad did a mini documentary on milk for NBC. And what it was what he found out were a lot of kids in Chicago. They didn't connect milk to a cow. They connected milk to the stainless steel machine. You pick up the handle and the milk feeds the glass. And that's what a lot of them thought. And the idea was there was a program in which they were taking kids out to farms, to learn about agriculture.
And that's wonderful.
And
so that's what we do. So that is not...
I'd still love to see a chocolate cow.
Well, me too. And you know what? We'd be pretty rich after the end of that. We could go promote that chocolate cow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of variety in the dairy association, or in dairy industry. And can you tell us a little bit about it to inform us about what are all the things that go on in dairy?
Sure.
And I mean, there's national, but here we are in Indiana, which is kind of a part of the 50 states of that.
Sure. So if you just take for Indiana, for example, in just our state, we have the first and now the only Walmart dairy processing plant. So again, they service about 444 stores nationwide just with that, and the technology they have to do that. Then all the way to...
Forgive me, is that a milk farm that...
It's a process. No, so the
it's
milk
processing.
is... So it
comes
just
in.
Comes in,
Right.
and they process it and package it and pasteurize it, and so then they can have that there.
Okay.
Then they source it from different dairy farms.
Different dairy farms. I see.
And then you have another processing to where maybe it's a small farm and they're doing the processing on farm. So where that dairy farmer
sure.
collects it and makes their own, whether it's milk, cheese, and different dairy foods there.
I think of the farm it's more of a commercial farm than a dairy farm, but over here on the northwest side of Indianapolis is
Fair Oaks Farms.
not Fair Oaks being up in Lafayette.
Oh,
but
Traders Point.
Traders Point.
Yeah.
Where you can get milk and dairy cheese, and you've got yogurt, etc.
And I would say that's more of
but
like
they
an
process
on-farm.
it on farm.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
again, smaller farm, and again, they're bringing you to their farm and showing that. So that is something that we love, whether it's Fair Oaks, it's Traders Point Creamery, or one of the different farms that are just opening. Maybe they have during the fall, they have Fall Festival and have a corn maze and they bring, but connecting people for where their food is grown is so important because everyone eats and everyone has millions of questions and there's so much information out there. It's hard to know, and everyone wants to feed themselves and their family and just do what's best.
Yeah. And I'm thinking you've already mentioned Fair Oaks. That's, we were talking earlier about Knott's Farm off camera in California when I was a kid. The up by Lafayette and Fair Oaks, it's a destination dairy, etc.
It is. So they really, their vision to really connect people with all types of agriculture. So you have pork and crops and so how, and again, now they have a restaurant and different, so how can you go there for a reason, and while you're there, you're learning about that, and you're having a good time. So that's part of what we even try to do on a smaller scale, to whether it's handouts or information, videos, virtual farm tours. How can we allow you to experience something about dairy, farming, or food-wise, and you just happen to learn from it at the same time. So
that's very good. I love those type of places because you're always learning stuff, and while you're having a good time and having
enjoying
something
food.
good to eat.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like their butter case cheese.
Oh yeah.
Now to the health stuff. This is for mom and dads. Is they're different people have different dietary interests. As we talked about the grass-fed versus corn-fed and so forth. Can you educate us on some of the knowledge of how people can learn about the different kind of milk and the differences and the concerns people have about? I think a lot of people. I'm a grass-fed type of person, so not that I eat grass, but I look for grass-fed butter.
Right. The good thing about milk and dairy, that there are a lot of different options. So whether it's you're going for affordability or you're going through that you want grass-fed for whatever the reason, that it's out there. For the dietitian part of me, the nutritional side, for grass-fed to organic to conventional milk, there is no significant nutritional difference. It'll be the same on the back of the label.
Okay.
And so people choose different management practices. So I guess I would say if you're drinking milk and you're enjoying it, and then that's the great thing about dairy, then go for it. That's the right decision for you. The questions that people have about their food, whether it's lactose, so people are lactose intolerant, there's lactose-free milk. If there, a very small portion of people who have an allergy to protein in milk, then then that's something different than lactose intolerant. But the innovation of dairy in general, and technology now, to where there's so many different options that before you stay away from it or eliminate it out of your diet and maybe have nutritional deficiencies, there is probably something out there that fits what you want.
Well, I know, and I try to learn more about this myself on nutrition, etc., is that kefir. We talked about that before. I get a zero sugar kefir over at Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
That's one of the stores.
Well,
I'll have to.
You're so digestive health, right? So
that's digestive gut health.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that people want, which digestive health. Now people are looking for calm but also energy. So if you think about that, you see
yeah.
products that will help relax you, but then you also want something that energizes you, or you're a college student that makes you be alert to study. Also, there's the immunity part. So the gut health, immunity, calm, and energy are really what products and people are really looking for nowadays. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a healthy thing.
I know, this is the thing.
Now, going on to events and organizations, do you meet with farmers? Do you have events that you're involved with here in Indiana?
Sure. We do meet with farmers as well, and then we help also them put them in the spotlight so people can put a face with dairy farming and meet and learn about dairy farming. And I would say for the state of Indiana, one of the ones that just happens to be in our backyard is the Indy 500, where the winner drinks a bottle of milk. That's right, the sign of victory. And an Indiana dairy farmer, it's different each year, provides that bottle of milk.
Do they have a different farm every year, or do they have so many years?
There is a different farm and farmer every year that then provides that milk. So it's a big responsibility, and it's something that a tradition. So Louis Meyer drank buttermilk in 1936, and then after then that tradition that they just kept doing it on and off, and then made it a tradition after 1956.
There you go. And everybody sees that at the end where the guys
that's right. And it has become very important to the race, to the drivers, but then also for the farmers. So dairy farmers work very hard on, they don't get to leave the farm a lot, because you think about that. They're milking 2 or 3 times a day. Sometimes calves are being born, so they have to be there.
Sure.
So that moment it's like represents kind of all that hard work. And so it's a very proud moment for dairy farmers.
Well, that's fabulous. That you're saying that reminds me of, there was a lady who used to come around our house like really early, like before I was supposed to get up. You know, she was from Northwest Indiana. We had a lot of Dutch farms in Northwest Indiana, and I think her name was Hofstra. And she would come by. She'd come with her big truck, like a Suburban or whatever, and she'd always bring fresh eggs and milk. And you know, milk in a bottle is like a good thing. Oberweis, anyone? And those are some good dairy memories. Other events you're involved in other than the Indy 500. Is there anything other big?
I would say this Indiana State Fair. So that usually the month of August, we're very busy with that. Not only do we have the gigantic cheese sculpture that we have this cheese sculptor do just for fun and a way to talk about dairy, but then also the dairy bar. So where we do sell about 70,000 milkshakes and about 45 to 50,000 grilled cheese and just good old milk and yogurt and cottage cheese. But that, again, the dairy farmers are very passionate about keeping the costs low and then serving that to the public. So,
well, that's fascinating, and that's quite a tradition, isn't it?
It is. I would say, you know, maybe the state fair might disagree, but that's probably the first stop that they can't wait to go to the dairy bar.
Milkshake, mama.
Right. But I feel like everyone wants a milkshake.
Exactly.
But for the kiddos, and it's just one of those traditions. It's been since 1941. There was a milk tent, and it's progressed to now a freestanding kind of circular barn with cow print awning. But it's nice to connect with the public there, and they always have a good time because we try to keep it fun at the dairy bar.
Oh, that's very fun. Any events coming up for 2024? I mean, we know that you've mentioned the 500's coming up, and is there a particular? Have they said who the farmer is that's taking care of milk this year? Or
Yep, this year will be Alex Neuenschwander. So he's from Bluffton.
Great, which is up by Fort Wayne, that area.
On your way up there. So that he will be the milkman or the milk presenter of the Indy 500.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, and so we do video shoots. We get him prepped. So again, if he's interviewed on a podcast like this, that he feels very comfortable sharing his story. But coming up, we work a lot with schools and school nutrition, and then also with maybe different food equipment. But we have school breakfast week in March that we do promotions with the schools. But coming up, then besides the others I have mentioned, the ice cream social downtown on the Circle.
Oh, yeah.
We have done that for, and I should know how many years.
Is that in the spring?
It is July. July is ice cream month.
Of course.
And June is dairy month. There's a month for everything.
You get 2 months,
yeah.
right? That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So down in the Circle.
We work with different community nonprofits to where each year that proceeds goes to them. So this year it'll be the Boys and Girls Club, and then we'll choose a different organization for the next year.
Well, that'll be great. So, and we'll put your link in the description notes, and so people can see what's coming up. And you'll have, do you mention the 500 and the fair?
We do.
Okay.
Yep. You can go to winnersdrinkmilk.com. Again, Winners Drink Milk from any 500, and has all the information there. But then also, if you need to get a hold of us, we'll answer you too.
Gotcha. Now you're making me think of when I was in high school. Sometimes I would get up early to go to school.
Yeah.
And I had friends who were on the swim team because they would get up at dark 100 to practice. That's when they practiced, not after school, before. And we had breakfast at the school, but I would always get donuts and milk.
There you
That's
go.
what I had. Milk. I had milk every morning I was there. And so that's some good memories.
That is good. And again, having that milk, a lot of it's for that protein too. A lot of people don't know that it has 8 grams of protein just in a carton of milk. And then you said swimming, so I have to say it. But the greatest refuel beverage after exercise, not during, is chocolate milk.
Is chocolate milk?
Yeah, it's like nature sport drinks.
Is that after swimming or any kind of
workout? You just want to drink it during.
Chocolate milk. That's a good prescription. I'm all for that.
It has the right carb and protein ratio, electrolytes, B vitamins, so it's just kind of all there.
And chocolate.
And it has the extra carbs, so you need that right carb and protein ratio.
Well, I'm all for that.
There you go.
Oh, great. Well, Jenni, thank you so much. It was great having you on the show today.
It was.
And that's it for this episode of the Omnibus Show. And we're shooting today from Feinstein's. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Hotel Carmichael, and we look forward to being with you on the next episode of the Omnibus Show.
If you enjoyed this program, please like, share, and subscribe to continue the conversation. For the Omnibus Show newsletter, please sign up at theomnibusshow.com.